Hello and welcome to Spiritual Fertility. This is again Alison Bucklin, and I am so grateful to be here recording this episode. I have a beautiful guest and certainly a wonderful conversation that we are going to have moving forward. But if you're new to Spiritual Fertility, welcome. I invite you to listen to the stories that are shared, to be inspired by the things that you hear, by the energy and the frequency that comes through for this episode. And if you are returning, then I am so thankful to have you in this journey with me to inspire others, to birth new creations, to move through those periods of rebirth together. And the intention that came through as my guest and I were speaking prior to hitting record is that of there were a couple things, certainly. Moving forward with courage was one, but the realization that in our evolution, there are these ascents and descents. There's these darker times, then these lighter times, these moments when we are more in tune with being grounded in who we are. But also there's times that we can sometimes pay attention to the chatter and the different things that are going on around us, but it really takes intention to kind of step through those moments, to ground ourselves, to recognize what we truly want through being and living in alignment with our values and listening to the guidance that we receive along the way, certainly choosing ourselves. And that's someone that my next guest has done in her story and in her life. And she is a person that came into my world. Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a long story because there's an inspirational quote that goes along with my friend Wendy that I'm going to read and share, because I can't help but think of her, but think of this, and it's kind of connected us. But we met through a LinkedIn local experience. So many of my guests have come into my world through LinkedIn, but in Baltimore, there is ongoing, it's still going, a LinkedIn local experience. That is run and kind of started by my friend Melody Barron, but she has put together, her and her team, many different experiences to come together to meet the people behind their profiles and to network and learn new things and support the greater good. Being a part of something that is bigger than ourselves is also, like, I think, a connection that Wendy and I have too. But so we met through there and we connected in early 2020 through Melody and had a beautiful conversation. And Wendy does such incredible work in her life. She has birthed many creations through her life and will continue to do so. But what we're going to talk about today, part of what Wendy does, has founded Respite Retreats. And I'll let her share a little bit more about the journey to come up with and serve those who are going through a tough time and in being diagnosed and living with cancer. But when we first talked, Wendy shared her vision for what she was going to move into the next part of her life. And she had shared that there was a quote that had kept coming and reoccurring in her mind that kind of led her to kind of step forward. And it was this great reminder. And I still have this reminder come up in my life and was super inspired by this quote. And I'm going to read it to you now. And it's funny too, at the same time, my daughter has been practicing for a project where she has to read a quote out loud. And it's this one. And so it's all around me for sure. And it's in my background if you're watching this on YouTube. So the quote is from Marianne Williamson. And it goes like this. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are here for a reason. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are born to manifest the glory that is within us. It is in everyone, and as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give others the permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And every time I hear it, it just hits me and ignites me. So, Wendy Letow is here to introduce herself, and she's somebody that I'm so excited. We had such a lengthy conversation before, so I'm going to get into allow you to introduce yourself, Wendy.
Well, hello there, everyone. My name is Wendy Letow. I'm the founder and executive director of Respite Retreats. We are a nonprofit that provides respite services for those affected by cancer. And Alison, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you today. I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too. And boy, we had a lengthy conversation beforehand. But what I want to step into is what you shared with me, your journey to create respite retreats. And so take us back to where that started because you began your journey and it kind of, as we were hitting record, I mean, you've been in the world and dealing with others who have cancer for a long time in different roles. So, which led you to respite retreats. So, you started out choosing to be an oncology massage therapist. Yeah, talk about
Yes.
that. What made you choose that line of
Yeah, so
profession?
I'm going to take us back a little bit further to say that this is my second nonprofit that I've founded. The first nonprofit was founded when I was a massage therapist. I was working with a gentleman whose wife was diagnosed with liver cancer, and I just offered to work with her through her cancer journey. And my experience with them was such that um, I realized that it doesn't matter what your means are, whether you have the financial capability of purchasing wants or needs. It 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 was an experience of this particular family had no children. They did very well financially, but they would not purchase things to help her with comfort items through her journey because they were so worried about paying medical bills and what the future might hold. So um, this experience was kind of my first experience with anybody who had cancer. Um, However, the experience was so profound that it led me to realize that this is what I wanted to be doing with my life. So, um, not having any other cancer experience with my family, with my friends, um, this was kind of the first spark that ignited the work that I do within the cancer community.
And then so that lit the spark, right? You knew that this was work that was needed, that was to be done. And then you found yourself with your own cancer diagnosis.
I did. So now we're going to fast forward probably 25 years from then. I was diagnosed with cervical cancer. Um, it was definitely an interesting journey because I was 41, 42 years old, and it's not something you ever expect to hear. And I was very adamant on making sure that I saw my doctor, um, my gynecologist every year, never had any issues, challenges, nothing. Everything always came out clear. If there's anything that I would love for any women who are listening to this to hear, it will be this. I went every year, no problems. A week before I was due for my yearly exam, I had to go to the doctor just for a cold. So my gynecologist happened to be my primary as well. went in, said, I'll see you next week when I was going to leave. And she said, well, what are you coming in for? And I said, I'm coming in for my path. And she said, have you had any problems in the past? I said, nope, always clean. And she goes, skip a year. Skip a year. Yeah. See where this is going. Skipped a year. Started having some challenges, breakthrough bleeding, painful intercourse, and didn't think really much of it. Called the doctor, and she was no longer practicing, so they had to refer me to a new doctor. Found a new doctor. They couldn't get me in for another 3 or 4 months. My bad, because I didn't say I was having issues. I said it was just my annual. And so now I'm 28 weeks instead of, 28 months instead of 12 months. And I now have cancer. Yeah. So if there's anything that I'd like you to hear is the guidelines are 3 years. However, as you can see, that's not necessarily how it works. So please get your PAPs, get them every year, advocate for yourself, and don't worry about the guidelines. Worry about you and your health.
Yeah, I mean that is so true. I mean my mouth was open. I had my sound off, but my mouth was open because I was like, "Oh my gosh." I mean, it's just that reminder we can certainly we can't go back and change history or the path, but it's that reminder to what you said, like take the steps to be an advocate for your own health. Get the checks, get the screenings, get the, also pay attention to your body and when those
Yeah.
symptoms and changes might come. I happen to be listening to a lot now on menopause and like perimenopause and that change, and it's a lot of listening to my body and being mindful, but then also we have to choose to keep those tests going. So you were thrown into that diagnosis and met with the challenges that come from having a diagnosis, right, of and cancer and being in that world and working through that. But you then were and you were doing your not were you doing your first nonprofit then?
I was. Yes, I
Talk
was.
about your first nonprofit because that was your first birth. Like
Yeah,
that was a
yeah,
baby for
yeah,
you, right? Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so we talked a little bit about fear um before we got on this call, and the poem as well. And um I I just wanted to help people. I just wanted to help people with cancer, and I wanted to gift them things that insurance companies weren't paying for, little things that make a really big difference depending on what the family needed or wanted. So that was the name of the organization, the Little Things for Cancer. And we provided everyday type things to families affected by cancer. So copay assistance, prescription assistance, wigs, food. We paid for hot water heaters. I mean, it was whatever they wanted or needed at the time. And we didn't make judgment on what was wanted or needed, because maybe someone needed a wig. We didn't make judgment on, well, that's just a want. That's what was important to them during that time in their journey. So went into that nonprofit with just like, hey, I want to help people. Well, who knew it was running a business, right? Who knew? So yeah, started that, learned very early on, I was in over my head. So put kind of the business piece aside, and my training was, I went out and volunteered for Allman Cancer Fund, Claudia Mayer Cancer Resource Center. I did work at Maryland University of Maryland Hospital. I did free massage for cancer patients. And so I just went out and into the community. Red Devils. Oh my God. Jan Wilson was like my biggest supporter and mentor, and taught me everything that they do for their organization. So I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. And so yeah, that was just kind of my schooling. And I went out in the community and learned what it took to actually run a business and a nonprofit. And in about 2012, we began to build the programs, and the foundation of the foundation was beautiful, and merged with the Zacking Against Cancer Foundation some years ago. They're doing amazing things with it. Um, at that time, do you want me to kind of go into what happened with that and into the next
Yeah,
nonprofit?
yeah, sure. No, it's a great transition because you created this, you birthed this, such a beautiful gift to be able to give that to individuals and be in that value of contribution and compassion for others. And then you gave it away, right? Like you
Yeah,
didn't give it away, like you like, yeah, the energetics of that, because you created it, and then you now merged with another organization at that time. And when that happened, yes, I invite you to share a little bit about that, because then your mom was actually diagnosed. You had another cancer experience in your life, which then kind of led you on the stepping stone to where you are now. So yeah, of course, I invite you to talk about that if you feel comfortable doing so, for sure.
so, and I'm going to rewind back to my diagnosis. It's interesting because um, with the little things for cancer, was an interesting thing to be building an organization, serving the cancer community and having no history, not like no family history. And I thought, I'm like, what a gift that I can do this without the experience and know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Um, because most people have an experience in their life, which I did with um, Bill and Jen with the massage. Um, and it was real and firsthand, and it was different than if it was a parent, myself, a spouse, a child. Um, so when I did get that diagnosis, damn, I was shocked, because I was like, I'm doing all this great work. I thought I was going to be spared. Not really, not on a conscious level, but on an unconscious level. It was kind of like, what the heck? And having the diagnosis was a gift in itself, is in that while I didn't have to have chemo and radiation, I had 5 or 6 surgeries, um, pretty much back to back. And it did, of course, give me a different understanding of the work that I've dedicated my life to. So um, crazy to say cancer's a gift, but it was. Um, so got through that. Um, Mom was diagnosed at 69 years old with colon cancer. And this was right when we were merging um, with the Zacking Against Cancer Foundation. The goal there was to stay within the organization, but step down from the executive director position and work more with the families and the patients, because that's why I got into this. And this is what the connection that I wanted was, to serve the cancer community, but not from behind the computer, right? Wanted to really be more in it and not in the weeds of running a business. And my mom was diagnosed. We knew that it was terminal, that she was going to have probably 6 weeks to live. And I had just felt like that I literally gave away my firstborn child, which was the little things for cancer. It's not what happened, but that's what it felt like. At the same time of dealing with my mother's cancer diagnosis and the family dynamics and the craziness of all of that. So very, very low point in my life. Very blessed that I was able to be with my mom for those 6 weeks and be with her when she passed away. And it's helped me get me to where we are today. So.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I mean, it affects, the caregivers, the people that are in your life. It's just that, yeah, what that diagnosis brings. But you realized something was missing in your experience. What was missing for you?
Yeah. So, and I didn't realize this, Alison, until um, a couple of years ago when I really started stepping back and um, really thinking about the work that I've dedicated the last 30 years of my life to, and, you know, like, why? Why am I doing this? And then why Respite Retreats? Because Respite Retreats was started in 2018. Now we're looking, this was just a couple years ago that I started really putting thought into the why. And I can always make it about, oh, just because there's a need, right? And that's typically what I do is I downplay my own experiences because I think that somebody else has had it worse. So, my stuff's kind of insignificant. It's not true. It's very significant. And in this self-reflection and um, just sitting in my own stuff, um, I realized that unconsciously the work that I'm doing is because of my experiences. And in the self-reflection, I realized that as a patient and a caregiver, and watching my husband go through loving me through my cancer diagnosis and being the most amazing caregiver ever, 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 ever. Um, the piece that was missing was that there wasn't a place to go to step away from the diagnosis, from the doctor's appointments, from the poking and the prodding and the just all of it. When you hear the words, you have cancer, your relationship with yourself and your caregiver and your family members change. The piece of husband, wife, mother, daughter, um, it just shifts. You are now patient caregiver, period, and everything else is put to the side. And in self-reflection, looking back at that, I'm just like, my God, if there was a place that we could have gone and gotten permission, because this is what happens in our programs, and it all happened organically. We came in with an intention, and then we watched the magic happen. And what would happen was patients and their caregivers come in, and I'm so sorry. I'm so excited. I'm just like swirling. Like, I just completely shifted gears a little bit, but I get so excited about the work and having the opportunity again. Cancer was a gift to me. Having the opportunity to experience it, realize what was missing, and then give that gift to others. Just it's magical. Um, they come in, and we literally give them permission to set their diagnosis aside. And I wish we had that. Like, I wish that my husband and I had an opportunity, a little emotional, to literally just leave the cancer at the door and go somewhere where we could be loved on, cared for, not poked, not prodded, not talk about the cancer, not talk about the experiences, the doctor's appointments, um, and all, the diarrhea, the vomiting, the pain, like all of it. And Respite Retreats, that's what we do. We give the families an opportunity to come in, set it aside. And then we do uplifting and therapeutic activities designed to take their mind off the diagnosis. And what has magically happened, that our intent, we didn't know about the intent until we saw it happen in front of us, is these moments of um, where the patient and caregiver look in each other's eyes and say, I remember you. I remember you. You're not just my caregiver. You're my husband. You're my sister. You're my son. You're my friend. And we watched this occur in front of us over and over again. And now we set that intention, right? When before we have our programs and people walk in the door, the intention is we're going to take their mind off the diagnosis and we're going to give them this opportunity to reconnect with each other on the personal level. And that was the gift that they bought into our space is this can happen, this does happen. And I keep using the word magical. It's magical.
What a gift to witness and to like this full kind of circle moment that you're witnessing along the way. I mean, it has to be so touching for you and intimate for those that are involved. And what type of programs do you offer through Respite Retreats?
So prior to COVID, and where we're trying to get back to a little bit, not a little bit, a lot, we simply set out to do day retreats for cancer patients, their caregivers, and their family members. And of course, when COVID hit, we couldn't see people in person anymore. So we had to pivot and create new programs that allowed us to still serve the cancer community within the guidelines of our mission. So we did very well. Expanded our reach outside locally to pretty much throughout the US, and occasionally we get some requests for out of the country that we have been able to serve, which is kind of cool. But our main program, and the one that we started off with being so passionate about, is our day retreats. We are now back to doing day retreats. We did about 13 this past year, and we plan to double them next year. And what they look like is we have this beautiful little retreat center in Ellicott City. It is in an office building, but as soon as you get into our space, you have no idea you're in an office building. It's very homey and cozy. We have a little fireplace and a baby grand piano, and it just, I'm sitting here now and I love it. Families come in. We have volunteers that play the baby grand piano for about the first 30 minutes while we get settled. They check in, they get to pick a special mug that they get to use all day. Then once they use it, they get to take it home. And then we just spend the day doing uplifting and therapeutic activities that keep them focused on something, again, other than their diagnosis. They, within about 15 minutes, you can feel the energy shift in the room. There's such power in words, intention, and love. And I think that when, we're bringing them into a space with the intention, giving them verbal permission to set their diagnosis aside, and then they realize that they're in this beautiful, safe place where people are going to take care of them. The rest of it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter if we're doing an art project or improv or massage or meditation or poetry, like we do it all. It really is about the energy and the intention in the room that makes it so wonderful.
I can feel the energy as you speak that, and also as it comes through you. It goes back to what we shared, Marianne Williamson poem shared in the beginning, like, who are we, right, to push ourselves down and to be small, right? We are meant to shine that light, and oftentimes it gets clouded and covered up by not just our life experiences, but the things that we're taught or our own negative self-talk that is in our subconscious. You talked a lot about intention, about being conscious, about being aware, about separating those things, about feeling the energy, of being able to kind of step away. And I find it beautiful and courageous how you kind of stepped into doing your life's work and your mission, right? And not playing small, right? But however, there are times when we need to reflect and be reminded that maybe bigger isn't always better, right? And that we can, like, coming back around to our values of what we're here to do, detaching from that outcome, knowing it, like, bigger doesn't have to be better. And you said it so perfectly about, as long as you, like, stuck with your intention, right? Letting everything else unfold, then you've done what you've needed to do, right? You've set out and you've done what you've needed to do, and you've created that space and curated for that space for those who are meant to be served within your presence, and within, the energy that you and your team, because we have to do this with support along the way, not just from our spouses or our caregivers or our but as the team that comes in, we need, certainly that support along the way. And so now you're in kind of a reflection period now, planning. I mean, your vision is there. You're going to be doubling the day programs, which is very intimate. For I can feel that that's, a beautiful intimate setting. Yes, you can do things online and you can have those experiences, but that connection, is really personable and intimate in your settings. I just find it beautiful. And for those that are listening, I'll be sure to share links and some of the information about Respite Retreats, so that you can be called to be in that space however you're meant to be, right? We don't know what's on the other side of what's going to come from even just this conversation today. So, I find it beautiful. So you're in kind of like this reflection planning period right now for next year.
We are, and it's it's a bit brutal because I think we have 9 programs, so we're talking about pulling back on the virtual programs, some of our to-go programs. Um, we we think big, and we want to do everything we can to serve everyone, and at the same time, the whole bigger isn't always better mentality is starting to serve me finally. It's new, it's a little uncomfortable, but at the same time, this organization was founded with an intention, with a goal, with a mission, and the COVID experience made us think outside the box and to create other things. But it's really more important for us to bring people together and um, have the opportunity to serve with quality, not necessarily quantity. And yeah, so I'm sitting with that in its discomfort, and I know that that is the right thing to do, is to be bringing people in and serving them here.
So that then the next birthing can or rebirth, right? Because we can be in this, this consistent rebirth. I was listening to a book this morning and kind of led to our discussion of, like, the ups and downs and the ascent and the descent, and, like, what comes from what's birthed or rebirthed within ourselves, right? And then with the creations that come, and we just have to detach ourselves from the outcome some of the
Yeah.
times.
Yes. And one of the things that keeps popping up in this conversation for me when you're saying that too is when we started this, I kept thinking, it's not enough. 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 And every single time that we are blessed to be in the presence of these cancer warriors and their families in person, it's like I have every single time, not kidding. I'm looking at where I stand and I look at the room and I uh, pause, become present, and have this overwhelming feeling of it's enough. It's enough. So on a earthly thought process level, it's like, no, we should be doing more. We should be doing more. We could be doing more. We could be doing this and that. But when you're in the moment with these small, intimate groups of people, it's the love in the room is palpable, and it's enough. It is. It's enough. It's
It is enough.
it's
Is
enough.
it is enough, and and that goes too for our own well-being and our own um, self-care. Like we are enough. We are exactly where we need to be. That's been coming up around me lately. Um,
Mm.
I'm exactly where I need to be at the right time, doing what I need to do to move forward. I mean, we're at this unique time, like in our earth and astrologically, and like what's shifting as more folks become awakened to like their inner soul's guidance, I guess, and that system that resides within us, but also more awake to like what we've been taught and the systems that are around us that might say bigger is better or might say that we're not doing enough. I mean, that goes back to those are some deep seated things
Like
that for
right
for
that,
another
that
conversation,
right in
right?
the trash.
Yeah, yes, exactly. um but yeah, it's this interesting time. And we were talking beforehand how like kind of those dips in our life can come in with regards to our spirituality, right, and our own kind of self-care and connection. But so what role has spirituality played for you in your life? Because you have to be grounded and have that foundation, but you started that way, but you've kind of drifted in and out, right? Talk about that a little bit, because it's totally normal, right, for
Yeah.
anybody who's on the path, for sure.
Yeah. So I'm craving more spiritual practice and connection at this juncture in my life. Um, and it scares me a little bit. So the first half of my life, that was my life, like being an oncology massage therapist, studying um, energy, and just the people I spent time with were, Reiki masters and acupuncturists and massage therapists and energy workers and mediums. And like, so the first half of my life, I was practicing spirituality on a daily basis, which is, I'm kind of thinking this answer out loud and I'm liking it. I'm liking my answer. I'm liking what I'm feeling. Um, while I don't practice it the way I'd like to, and I'm going to pursue that and practice more, I believe that it's built the foundation spiritually for me to be able to do the work that I do now. It's just, I, I don't necessarily have to practice it the same way I did the first half of my life. So it's kind of built that foundation. So thanks for asking that question, because the aha moment.
That's so fun. That lights me up.
Yeah.
Seeing that unfold for you and hearing that unfold for you, because yeah, it has. Because when I listen to you speak, I feel like your energy and wisdom come through, because we get absorbed, like we absorb what we bring our attention to. For however many years that you were doing that and you were surrounding yourself with those folks in your life, I mean, we're absorbing it. Doesn't mean that it goes away, right? Like it's stored in our subconscious and it's there, and it has prepared you for the work that you do today. And then we can fall out of like the daily practice and we can fall into it. It kind of it's like whatever we're feeling and that we feel called and need at the time, that we're going through this, just again to trust the process,
Yeah.
as it's unfolding. But I loved hearing your excitement and you're speaking
I was,
out loud.
I was just like, whoa, wait a minute. It's okay. I'm doing just fine. I don't necessarily have to be practicing the way that I used to practice.
No.
I can do what I'm doing, and which isn't that much. And it be okay. Like I
Yes.
felt like I was making judgment on myself there for a minute of like, oh, I should be doing more. Am I not doing enough? And that really literally was just kind of an aha moment in that conversation of you've done a lot of that work and it's just part of who you are now. Um, and yes, revisiting, practicing some of that, especially while I'm in this uh, dip and
Yes.
ebbs and flows would probably be healthy for me to do. Um,
Yes. But again, what we were talking about too, I get it because there is resistance that can come up there because when you are in those places and you're doing those practices that kind of bring you centered and give you that space, there are things that come up that need to be processed and worked through that we need to heal from. And that there is definitely, it is human to feel the resistance to moving through that space. However, it's when we can like be in that space that um, ultimately we can gain perspective, but it's when those like little seeds get planted and then like the bud comes up and then like the rebirth and the things, but it's not the funnest
I,
most fun time.
yeah, well, but the end result is so, and that's where it's like, how do we find that balance between, um, listen, I've got lots of work to do, but I've done enough work to know that once I get through the growth spurt or the rebirth and everything, I know what's on the other side and I know it's fabulous. So I get excited about doing the work, but it also gets in the way of my checklist of things that I need to get done, because I don't have time to be processing all that stuff while I'm trying to, so it's really is finding that balance and um, honoring both pieces and bringing them together instead of I sometimes tend to separate them. Almost like I can't have this and this when I know I can. And that's when I'm going to be doing the best work is when I can consciously pull them together.
Sure, sure, absolutely. I mean, and it's an evolution, it's a journey. We have to also trust the process, right? Because we can't see what's on the other side. We know it's going to be beautiful, but like that trust and surrender is kind of what moves it through. I'm curious, and we didn't talk about this beforehand, but do you ever do the practice where you pick a word for the year?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you
Yes.
remember what your word is for this year?
Don't. Let me think. Don't, and I'm sad
That's
that I
okay.
don't.
Yeah. Well, then for the intention for choosing your word next year means that it's showing me and showing you that you need to bring it into your life more so that you know
Yes.
what that word is.
Yes.
Yeah,
Indeed.
right. Yeah. I love that practice. I love that practice of like choosing a word for the year uh, to come back to. So, something for as we record this now, in no at the near the end of November 2024. That's why I'm bringing this up in this
Yes. It's
conversation.
a good time.
When you listen to this, it's going to be later. I don't know when. You could be listening to this episode 10 years from now. If you are, then welcome and hello from the past. So, isn't that so fun? Like with
Yes.
like digital age and the world that we live in,
Yes.
like this is going to
Crazy.
be here. This conversation is like rooted here and grounded here, but it's for the future, and like it's like this overlap of timelines that is so fascinating and magical to me as I explore my own spirituality and openness. But I've enjoyed our conversation
Me
so much,
too. Me
Wendy.
too. So I do have to say that I'm going to be so excited in 25 years when I watch this, and I got through without dropping the F-bomb. I'd be so proud.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay, that's a win. Ting. Um, yes, because we know life can be and experiences can be effing hard. Yes,
Yeah.
right, and excruciating. But the miracle and the magic is, when we have that perspective on the other side and we see what's come out from that light, right? When
Yeah.
we let our light shine and we step into our own uniqueness and how we're meant to serve the world and come back to this connection. I'm so grateful that we've made the connection that we have to
Yeah.
be in this place now. Yeah, is there anything else on your heart that we didn't cover that you're called to share as we kind of, end wind this conversation down?
Just grateful for you and the work that I'm able to do. I'm so blessed, and I encourage folks out there to take time to pause and listen to the, the things that come in, because they're the voices that should be heard, not the chatter from the outside world. So
Sure. Right, right. And being mindful of that and those downloads that do come, the connection to our higher self and to spirit and to listening and hearing and understanding. And yes, it does take awareness to kind of tune out that like negative that's not serving us at all and lean into what's serving us and the world. So
yeah,
beautiful.
trust it, trust it. Yeah.
Trust it for sure. Well, thank you again, Wendy, for joining me for this conversation. Thanks for everybody who has listened to this. Be sure to subscribe to Spiritual Fertility, to depending on the platform where you're hearing or listening to this, share, review, like all the things that need to happen in order to allow this to reach more individuals who are going to be accepting of the messages that they hear, to spark their curiosity, to find out more, to maybe take some bolder steps to let their light shine, to do the work that needs to be done, because it's really a ripple effect, right, that we can have on each other when we do share our light, right, and move
Yes.
through those spaces. So thank you
Yes.
again, Wendy.
Thank you.